All right, joining me is Dr. Charles Ledoux, the current coroner of Terrebonne Parish. And Doc, it's good to have you on board. How are you, sir?
Fine, Martin. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, there's an election and coroner's up for election. But, you know, I say this almost with trepidation, but not a lot of people know what the coroner does.
No.
So here's your chance to explain a little bit. What do you do on a daily basis?
Well,
as coroner?
most people think that coroners are involved with death, and we are. We have to investigate any death that has any suspicious surroundings, homicide, murder, suicide, and any unusual circumstances. But as time has passed on, we are also extremely heavily involved in the two great medical issues that face our society: mental health and drugs. Last year, we did 1,100 mental exams with the coroner's office. We also take care of OPCs, or orders of protective custody. If a family member or friend or anybody you think is having a mental health crisis, either could harm themselves or harm somebody else, if you come in, see us, we'll take the information. If it seems valid, we could get either the police department or the sheriff's office to go pick that individual up, bring them someplace to get evaluated. If they find that their problem is real, then we get them hospitalized. After they're hospitalized, the coroner has to see them within 3 days in order to certify it.
Let me ask you this, because your predecessor, of course, Dr. Vic Tedesco,
Right.
appeared many times on our program, and the heroin problem was really on the mind. It's still on the mind.
Heroin, then fentanyl now.
Yeah.
Different drugs, but the same action. Last year we had 67 drug overdoses. Now those are just ones that we see. They find the patient dead, they find that there's expired. This doesn't count the people that get in the hospital, die in the hospital, or recover. We had 67, 56 had fentanyl involved to some degree or another.
Yeah.
What we say more and more is a mixture of drugs. People cut one drug with another.
But there's a lot of investigatory work that goes along with being coroner also, isn't there?
Exactly. We have three investigators full-time, one part-time, a chief investigator, and they keep pretty busy.
So did you ever think, as you spent many years as a general surgeon in Houma, before you became coroner, did you ever think that one day this would be something that you'd be doing?
No.
Yeah.
But for 45 years I practiced as a general surgeon. I earned my living with my hands and my brain. Right. But I appreciated that part of it was dealing with people in a crisis. The family was in a crisis. Their family member was sick, was dying, was in an accident. And when you think about it, being coroner is kind of an extension to that. Everybody we deal with, it's an upheaval in the family, an upheaval in their relatives, and we have to kind of explain things to them and try to calm them down as much as we can. It is not a happy time for them, and you're not going to make them happy, but you can explain it to them. So in a way, it's an extension.
Let's take a little time in the 7 minutes that flies by, but talk a little bit about your personal life. I know a lot of coroners don't want to get in their personal life, but your lovely wife is here. Just tell us a little bit about some of your personal life.
I went to LSU Medical School, trained in the LSU surgery program, came to Houma in 1978. Have 2 children and 4 3/4 grandchildren. We have a boy coming sometime around Thanksgiving.
So, Doc, let me ask you, I know you've been coroner for a few years, but how long have you been associated with the coroner's office?
For 40 years. For deputy, chief deputy, and for the past 3 years as a coroner, as I took over Vic Tedesco's unexpired term and stood for election unopposed.
Now that you are the current coroner, is this something that, I know it's not just about putting a check mark on your resume. You got a pretty doggone good resume, but you got to have a passion to want to be a coroner.
Yeah, you have to want to do it. I mean, you have to enjoy doing it. Enjoy may not be a good word to use because it is taking care of disasters. But I was a general surgeon, so I was used to taking care of disasters.
Right, you've probably seen quite a bit. But once again, does it baffle you that most people, you hear a little bit of parish president talk right now. You hear a lot of legislative talk. But when you talk about the coroner, it remains a quiet position. Does that shock you?
No, because I make an effort to keep it a quiet position. I mean, I think we keep a low profile, get our job done, mind the business, and don't look for a lot of publicity. I mean, we just do the job and get it done. And that's kind of the way I practice general surgery. I mean, took care of the problem, but I wasn't show off or anything like that. And I make a concentrated effort for it not to be a controversial.
But you've been a low profile guy most of your life. It's only when guys like me pull you up on the news desk and ask you to do an interview just so the people will know.
Well, I've always felt, if you do the best you can at your job, then that's the best you can do. I mean, and that's how you define success.
And just real quick, we have about a minute left. How do you keep your energy up for people watching? You've been practicing for so long, but you still seem to have a lot of energy to do this type of job.
Because it's interesting, and no case is different. My wife asked me, well, what are you going to do today? And since I've known her since 1972, that I've never known what I was going to be doing 10 minutes in the future.
Right.
And it was
So
like that.
you don't get bored.
It was like that practicing medicine. It was like that. Like that being the coroner. I mean, you never know when the phone's going to ring, and when it rings, what it's going to mean.
Well, Doc, I appreciate you coming on just to share with the people a little bit about yourself. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming on. And once again, our current coroner, Dr. Charles Ledoux, right here on Bayou Time. Be watching for other segments. We'll have all the candidates on. We'll be back right after a short break.